Welcome to DAExMachiNation. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of DAExMachiNation. In the house tonight, we got a pretty full house tonight. It's Robbie Rip Rains from South Carolina joining us. Steve, the Wild Man Monroe. We have a sighting in the house after his, I think, 11 million hours in a row overtime stint. And, joining us all the way from the UK is Leon Howarth. For those of you who are old-time members of the show, you'll remember Leon's been with us a few times, but it's been a hot minute. And we're really glad to have him back. As Steve likes to refer to him as the British Robin Williams. Having Leon is always a hoot. But Leon's a researcher, Dogman field researcher, all around awesome guy, and Red Bull addict. And you got the off-brand version tonight.
It's the off-brand version. It's the shitty UK one, Red Thunder. It's not how you drink it, it's what it comes out the other end like.
I was about to say, well, if Red Bull gives you wings, what does Red Thunder give you?
Ass like a blood orange.
And we're off and running.
Sorry about that, folks.
Already bumped off the tracks.
It's a good thing the National Health Plan pays for colonoscopies.
Send the BBC up there, mate.
But if you guys are unfamiliar with Leon's channel, the channel is called Do It Noel's Way, and he's got some awesome content on there. He lives in the UK where he can't go out armed like we do. He doesn't just have balls; he's got basketballs because he's gone into some places unarmed. I would have hesitated to go in with a gun.
Yeah, in some dodgy places we've been.
Yeah, when you went into those caves off that tunnel, I was like, don't know that I'd have gone in there.
The scariest thing was when my mate Sean said, maybe this thing's still in here with us. And then we both looked at each other and went, it's time to go now.
Or as me and Robbie and Doc and Steve would say, would you look at the time?
Yeah. Adrenaline's brown. Apparently.
Well, that's why I always wear brown when I go hunting.
Don't have to worry about wearing red. Just gotta make sure you're wearing brown.
But yeah, we've been in some scary places over here. Like you say, we can't carry pew-pews and things like that. But it's a completely different world over here than it is where you are when it comes to looking after yourself. Put it that way.
So, have you been doing much researching here lately, or have you been taking it easy?
I've been taking it easy, actually. About 12 months ago, I don't know if you can see that big scar that's there. I ruptured or disconnected my bicep from the bone that's in there. So it floored me for a while.
I remember you telling me about that when that happened. I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah, I've lost about 30% strength in that arm. Now, 30%, when you think about it, it's 30%, but depending on what you drive, I drive a car that's 300 brake horsepower, and if someone said to me, I'm going to take 30% of it away, you wouldn't be very happy about it. So I'm not very happy about it, as you can obviously tell, and it's put me off going out there, really. But I've just got to build my confidence up like anything else and get out there and do a bit more. So the last 12 months, it's been really, really, I wouldn't say quiet. I've had the odd report on that, but for myself to get out there and look into it, it's been hard work for me to step out and do it. But I'm slowly getting there. We will be on it very soon. But on the other hand, the actual reporting side over here in the UK has been really quiet. One or two big cat sightings but as in Dogman and werewolf type creatures, black dog, things like that. Very, very, very low. I'm not the only one that's saying the same thing. There's a lot of guys over here who are coming up with the same.
It
same
seems like to
things.
us that sightings have been on the rise here.
Yeah, it's here. It's gone to nothing. I think I don't know what it is. I think a lot of sightings within the last 3-4 years, because of COVID, people were staying at home, and there was a lot of people who were going out walking who didn't do a lot of walking, and they were going out on the moors and they're going through the forests and valleys and things. And there were a lot more people there, so things were being seen and reported. But at the moment, it's very quiet. It's not dead quiet, but you know, there's things out there that are going on, but it's nothing like it was 3 years ago.
Speaking of the moors, you need to play the sound.
I will do that
Leon.
here in just a second. But I was going to say, Leon, I completely understand, having to lay off, going back out because I had to have a rather large chunk of titanium put in my chest as a pacemaker. So I was having some heart issues, and it's kept me out of the woods quite a bit. But I'm on the mend and ready to get back out there and be an idiot. But
yeah.
I'm going to play an audio recording for you. This was recorded like 10 miles from where Robbie lives. I think you will find it quite interesting.
Here we go.
I hope you was in your car or in your house.
That was recorded off somebody's Ring doorbell camera.
No way, really?
It sounds like the roar of the werewolf from American Werewolf in London.
Just a bit. It's very close to that, but it sounds a lot rawer. Jesus, that's a well. There's a lot to be said about that.
Leon, in your professional opinion, what do you think that is?
Well, we know what it is, don't we? God Almighty!
Imagine if you'd have heard that coming from that cave.
Now,
no way it got in there.
We kind of went into this last night. DA and I were on Quest Nation with we go on there Roy a lot, which is it's pre-recorded. But anyway, we played that, and of course they were like that. So let me paint you a picture. About a year ago, DA, when I found that track out behind Dad's house. My dad lives about 5-ish miles from where that was recorded. About 5 miles or about a year ago, I found a very, very large wolf track. I'm talking like almost 7 inches. It's about 6.5 inches from top to bottom. Another maybe 2 miles from where that happened, we've got a state park called the Horse Pasture. There's a woman who disappeared over there 3, maybe 4 months ago, something like that. Sonia, you correct me and give me the correct dates on that, or Rodney, if you're in the chat. Anyway, it's not very far from where that I mean, of course, something like that's 20 miles is not far for something like that to move, but this was like within like 5 miles. They found one of her dogs, and they found like some dog treats and like one of the leashes, but they never found her, and they never found the other dog. And it was like I said, within 2, 3, maybe 5 miles tops of where that was recorded.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good, does it?
Nope. And there's a lot of caves up there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that,
not surprising.
It reminded me of that video that they showed on one of the cryptids shows with the Scottish couple that were in their garden at night. They were taking out the bins or something like that, and I think it was a dad and his daughter, like adult daughter, and you hear that roar as he's putting the bins up, and you hear the dad go, "Oh, fuck this." And he runs inside, and that's the end of it. I'm like, said very well. Said as a true Scotsman right there.
All right, it'd have been gone. No messing around. But yeah, that's I've heard some crazy things when I've been out there, but just to hear that clear. Wow.
Well, also since the last time you were on, Robbie and I went to a place here in Missouri called the Joe Bald Recreation Area. It's an abandoned campground. It's been shut down for about 25 years. We found a canine track
in
about
one of your
7.5
books,
inches long. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went down there and found a canine track about 7 inches across. That's a big canine.
That's big.
It was.
That is. I used to have mastiffs, and they were nowhere near that big.
It
Yeah.
was bigger on, but it was like a ½ inch to an inch over. That's the knife that we laid down beside it. So an inch to a ½ inch on either side of that knife.
Yeah.
Bigger.
Well, I use my glasses a lot when I'm out in the field. Don't always have a tape measure with me, but so I put these on the ground, and I've got canine prints that fill that gap, and they are canine prints because you can see the claws in them. They're not cat prints where they're retracted,
Yep.
and that's a big dog for over here in England.
That's a big dog
and
for anywhere.
Yeah, and to find some of that a footprint as wide as your face in a place that's I myself have had reports of a creature climbing up the side of a quarry. So that's within. In fact, it was actually in the quarry where I found that, and that's all on video. We've got it all in one of my films. It's the mind boggles how big these things can get. It's just a lot of my reports are people saying that this thing that's been seen over here is big as a horse or a donkey sometimes when it's on all fours. When the bloody thing stands up on back legs. Well, I don't know.
I mean, you think just an average, not even like a big horse, not even like a big draft horse, just an average quarter horse, or, you're talking what, 1,100 pounds for a normal quarter horse?
Be thereabouts.
That's freaking huge.
Yeah, well, like the main horses that I ever see really are race horses over here, which are skinny and thin and they're athletes. But when they kick up on the back legs and put their arm, it's like that's big. And obviously, horses can get a lot bigger than a racehorse.
Antonio Vasquez has a question, and Leon, you can answer this first, and we can chime in. He says, "Where does Dogman hide when he's in danger, like a tornado or a hurricane?"
Well, very much like over there in the States where you are. I think that's where you are. I'm not too sure. I take it how you mentioned tornadoes in that, but here in the UK, there's a lot of, how can I put it? Things are tied together where you've got sightings of Dogman-like creatures, you've got waterways, you've got railways, and tunnel systems or over here. Really, a lot of it is mines, old mines. A lot of our coal mine, well, nearly every coal mine in the UK is shut down. There's millions of miles of coal mines underneath actually where I'm sat now. So for a creature as big as, like we just said, a donkey or a horse, it could easily disappear into a mine. The cave systems they're big over here for a little country, but yeah, they could easily go into there. But also, when we've got a lot of railways over here in England. We bloody invented the damn things. We're covered with railways. It's like this country's like a spider's web of railways. And on every square inch of that land, if you trespass on it, it's a massive fine. It's a huge fine over in England. Nobody ever goes over the fence onto a railway track. You know, you watch movies and you see people walking down the tracks and following the tracks to wherever. Over here, that doesn't happen. You can't get anywhere near them. So I get a lot of reports of Dogman-like creatures using the railway lines to move up and down and through the country. And there's a lot of tunnels in our railway through hillsides and cliff sides and things like that, with offshoots that are inside there that go on forever and ever. So to hide, and it doesn't even need to be any type of storm or anything like that. It's there's umpteen places for a huge animal to hide in this country anyway. And I would like to say it's probably the same everywhere else as well. If you want to get out the cold and wind and rain, you're going to find a place.
Exactly.
We do it.
Well, here in the States, the U.S. is riddled with caves. I mean, here, especially here in Missouri, we're known as a cave state, but there's just thousands and thousands of miles of these limestone caves.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the old, and I mean ancient million-year-old maps from, is it Cretaceous or whatever it was, all the Scottish Highlands and the northwest moors where I am are all part of the Appalachia. Millions of years ago, they're all stuck together and all slowly ripped apart and moved. But yeah, we were all stuck together, and all all that cave system, everything was all dragged apart. So there's a connection to this thing that people are seeing all over the world.
There's a cave system here in the U.S. called the Mammoth Cave System. And when they initially discovered it, it was on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. But the more they've explored it, they now believe it runs from Maine to New Mexico, which would be pretty much the equivalent of it running from Germany to Saudi Arabia.
I'm going to say that's a Maine to New Mexico. Christ.
As we say in the South, that's pretty fur piece.
It is a pretty fur piece.
It's like Route 66.
Yeah, just about.
And if they are all connected, and that's like, if those are all interconnected, that's a super highway for things to move around without ever being seen.
For anything, yeah.
And if they're following waterways, well, let me bring up the image. I'll show you. Give me just a second to bring up the image. But if they're following waterways, this is right here in the central part of the United States. This is just the waterways that empty into the Mississippi River. Hold on. Click the wrong button there.
Oh,
this is
God.
Missouri, where I live.
Yeah.
And that connects basically from the Appalachians to the Rockies, all the way to one single point on the Mississippi River.
It comes out there in that delta. It's like looking at your
superhighway, man.
Print. Just a bit. Anywhere you want to go around, or anywhere, anything wants it. It's. I've never seen that before. That's mind blowing. That.
Yeah, and people all the time are asking, how could something like this still exist in the modern age? But people don't realize how much wild land is still left. I mean, just here in the U.S., for national parks alone, there's 88 million acres of national parks that we're not allowed to hunt in, and a lot of it's not even accessible.
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
88 million acres is a lot of land set aside.
It is a lot. It is a lot, yeah.
Well, just here in Missouri and Arkansas, between the Mark Twain National Forest and the Ozark National Forest, those two alone account for almost 6 million acres.
It's hard to even think. You look at the UK; it's only about as big as Florida, and there's still we have places where I go and there's not a human footprint been there for 100 years, and you think to yourself, how is this possible? And you look how small the land is that England, that the UK exists on. Excuse me. But I'm still, just little old me, still able to find a spot where nobody stood for 100 years. It just shows that people are either really, really lazy or they just want to shut their eyes and don't want to know about anything. Which I keep going to the shut their eyes, I don't want to know about anything. Just change the subject a little bit. Only this week, just gone, we were all told that aliens exist. They're out there. They've got biological evidence. They've got mechanical evidence. They've got every kind of evidence.
And they just
And it wasn't
introduced
even
that very
once
matter-of-factly.
Yeah, it wasn't mentioned once here in the UK, and all the news outlets that I checked, it was nowhere, absolutely gone, because people just they don't really want to know, and it's not good at all.
Putting your head in the sand doesn't make it go away.
Right.
Mm.
And what people don't realize is they think that just because people have only started talking about Dogman in the recent years, that it only existed recently, and that's just not true. I mean, the phrase Dogman didn't come around until like in the 90s. But if you look up the history of the cynocephali, that goes back to the Greeks and the Romans.
Yeah, it goes back forever. It's even mentioned in I can't remember what it is, what it's called now. One of the earliest, it's not biblical. It overdates the biblical, I think. It'll come to me in a minute. I'll just think of Margaret Thatcher naked on a cold day.
Yeah, well, it's mentioned in the Bible. I mean, Saint Christopher was known as the dog-headed saint. Both Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus mentioned seeing these cynocephali creatures during their journeys.
Yeah, I think there's not a great deal writing about the things the Vikings got up to, but there is something about some Vikings that managed to get to North America and found dog-headed guys and even saw Bigfoot over there. So,
well, that's the same one, Bigfoot. I mean, the phrase Bigfoot didn't exist prior to 1957 when it got popularized because of a newspaper article printed out of California.
It was still there though.
Yeah, but long before that, people were reporting seeing wild men or hairy men, and every Native American tribe on North America has got a name for it.
Yeah, well, that's just so obvious, isn't it? For the whole system to ignore a complete tribe of people like that, filling a whole land that big that's got the same thing all over it with a slightly different name, it's just obvious that this thing exists. It's just
governments have been
too
doing
obvious.
it for generations. I mean, for hundreds of years. I mean, look how long it took. Took naturalists to admit the mountain gorilla existed.
Yeah, well, we have the problem. The problem here, I know for a fact that we've got big cats in this country. Big cats big enough to take down white-tailed deer and eat them. Eat most of them in one sitting. But they will not admit that they're out here. People have sent video. People have sent. I've got evidence. I've got piles of fur that has been stripped off the hindquarters of a deer because big cats, they strip rip it out and spit it out and then eat the meat. I've got all that on there, all on video. I've got the carcass where skin has been rasped as a big cat has. But if you've got a kitten or a cat yourself, the tongue is like sandpaper. So yeah, all the evidence is there, but they won't admit it. They won't admit that it does exist. So if they're not going to admit that there's big cats over here in the UK, they're not going to admit to big dog-like men running around, or even wild men that get reported over here as well. So we're on a, what do we say over here? Hiding to nothing when it comes to trying to get evidence out. But We'll get there one day.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people just don't want to know.
It does. It's the come home from work and shut your front door society.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, if they have to admit that things like that exist, then you have to go down the whole rabbit hole. Well, what else exists? And what do everybody wants to be in control of their own destiny? They want to think that they know what's in their own little corner, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, it's like trying to talk someone out of believing religion. It's not going to happen. It's the same kind of thought process where that doesn't exist. That's a lot of rubbish. Even though it's all over the news that there's things flying around the sky that are so weird they can't even put a name to them, they still sit there and go, "Oh, that's a lot of rubbish." That people I know and work with say the same thing now, and it's a lot of rubbish. I don't believe any of that. It's all bloody bumpkin. But
well, I've worked with people that look me straight now. I believe in ghosts and aliens, but I don't believe in Bigfoot. I'm like, how can you be open to ghosts and aliens existing, but not Bigfoot?
Yeah.
That makes that kind of thought process and that kind of logic just completely me.
It is. I've had that conversation where I've what do you do at weekend? And I've said, sorry, I'll tell you what I do. And I tell people what I do, and they go, "That's a bit strange, isn't it? Oh, believing in things like that. Yes. Oh, guess where I'm going next week? I'm going to see the clairvoyant." And you think, you can't have one or the other.
Exactly.
Right.
You've got to be one or the one. It's just.
Kevin Bode wanted to know if there were ever any DNA tests done on the deer hides looking for big cat DNA.
They have done big cat DNA, and it has been released to the authorities. And I think there's a documentary out there, and it's called Big Cat Britannica, or Britannica Big Cat. It's something you'll find it with them words if you Google them words. They brought up the evidence they come up with. It's makes mine look like someone's blown the nose and shoved it in a bin. So it's there, but they won't. It's still to this day they will not admit it that these things are running around, and it makes you think, what else is running around?
You were one of the first persons I'd talked to that mentioned, Dogman or Bigfoot using like railroad right-of-ways. And I hadn't really thought about that. And after you mentioned that, I talked to a number of guys who've worked for the railroad, and they're like, well, we're not allowed to officially talk about it. But yeah, we see stuff like that all the time.
Oh, yeah. There's, wait a minute. What the hell's document? There's over here, these guys who work on railway, and you would think they don't get a lot of money driving trains, but over here it's a good pay over here, and it's the pension at the end of it is even better.
Same here.
And I think they have a hold over people. Don't say this, don't say that, don't say the other, because you think about it, you're going to see it. You're definitely going to see it. It doesn't matter if you're staring at that window all day or not, but you're going to see it.
Yeah, I've talked to a few guys who are conductors and a couple of engineers that now you get into the backwoods well away from towns and you will see some bizarre crap.
Yeah. Definite.
Red Thunder number 12 down the hatch.
I'm gonna make a chimney. Where can I put them? Oh, so put it there.
Collection of fallen soldiers there.
I won't be going back to sleep. What time is it over here now? It's 2:30.
Oh,
2:30.
The time difference is a killer. I really appreciate you, either staying up late or getting up stupid early to be hang out with us.
My God. Sounds like a lot of guys around here, that does.
I think I know a few people that fit that bill.
Yeah. Harry, what are you on about?
So, okay, Steve, question
Yes,
for
sir.
you. You were the one that was kind of on the fence before we had our little trip, and you experienced like what we've talked about, that paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm.
But let me preface this by saying Steve was not one of these people that was so dogmatic about it, saying this can exist. He was like, I think it can. I just like to see. I'd like for it to be proven, which
Right.
is the way you need to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was the skeptic, or
So-
am a skeptic, I guess.
Emphasis on the word was, right? But my question is,
I'll show Leon those pictures when you're done.
sounds good. So from that standpoint of going from, I don't think these things exist, but they could exist, to where you're at now, does that change how you look at everything else, or just about that in general?
I would think that it could kind of go both ways. I have a lot easier time of accepting Bigfoot than I do something like, I don't know, lizard men or something like that. Even the Dogman is a little bit more of a stretch for me, because I can't as easily apply normal evolution to it. I could easily explain away that Bigfoot's another great ape, some convergent evolution we didn't know about, or some kind of relic hominid, an offshoot of Neanderthals or something. It's harder for me to put together something with a man's body and a dog's head. But clearly it's got to be out there, because the same kind of people that are telling stories about Bigfoot are telling stories about them. And I've heard, what you all have told me, and I've seen pictures of, wolf tracks the size of my head. I think I try to look at each thing as an individual case, but the further the time goes, the more I'm apt to believe in most of it. It's like the alien stuff. I've always said that the universe is so big that if we're the only thing out there, it's a huge waste of space. But did I ever think we'd really get any kind of physical evidence or any government authorities to admit to it? And all of a sudden, very matter of factly, oh yeah, this has been going on forever. We've got all kinds of evidence. It's like
I'm not surprised. It's kind of like what we call soft disclosures they're doing in the Bigfoot world. They're just very little by little kind of making these matter of fact statements, and they're not really explaining it. Like in 2019,
in there.
In 2019, they attempted to change federal hunting laws to include near human chimeras. What is a near human chimera, and what are they trying to slip in there?
Right. Well, it reminds me of the joke that you make when we're talking about the admission of the existence of the Billy ape. Where you do your impression of the guy from the British Museum. We know all about it.
I need my pith helmet for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that couldn't possibly exist.
Is that how that would actually go, Leon?
Bloody coming down here, or bloody, I tell you something. I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm going to tell you something else, but I couldn't remember what it was, so I'm going to tell you nothing.
All you need is the pipe. Yeah.
He lost it, remember?
Yep.
Lost the pipe.
Oh God, it's got bones in that. Arse.
Yeah, we gotta be careful of the pipe anyway. We don't want to get the strike for condoning tobacco use.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to offend the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like over where you are there, but over in England, things are getting this bad. It's going to be illegal to fart in a public toilet soon. And that's not a joke.
The public toilets in Europe, you have to pay to use them.
Yeah, most of them.
That absolutely floored me when I heard that. I'm like, surely not.
Here I sit, broken-hearted, spent 20p and only farted. But yeah, you do.
So Leon, I know I've asked you this before, but we've got a much bigger audience than we used to, and a lot of these folks, this is probably their first time seeing you. What got you into investigating cryptids?
What got me into it? Well, I lived in a little village in the northwest of England. It's called, if you want to Google it, it's called Prehistoric, and it's part of the metropolitan of Greater Manchester now. But back then, it was just a little teeny village. Back then, it sounds like I'm about 80 years old, but yeah. And there was always some strange talk of a weird creature that lives up in the woodland where we were. And they would talk of ghosts. They would talk of all sorts of things. So I always had that in my mind and grew up looking for it. There was talk of cave systems, burial grounds, all sorts near where I lived. And as a child, I tried my hardest to try and find these caves and the tunnels. Never found them. There was always talks about Dick Turpin and things like that. He was a famous robber, like, in the early 1700s. There were all parts of this person dug this cave. But anyway, I'm digressing. So as I grew up, I always had this thought of one day I'm going to get to the bottom of all this. And a friend of mine has a farm very close to where I live, and his mum saw a creature, which, God, what will it be now? I bet it's 25 years ago. And she saw this. She's a farmer's wife. She knows what animals look like. She's been around animals all her life. And she told me that she was out walking a dog, and her son had put a like a swing chair, a bench under a tree, so she could sit in the tree. Because, believe it or not, we do get some hot summers sometimes here in England. So she sat under this tree one day, and this creature, she said, was like a bull, the size of a bull, but it looked like a dog, and it was just walking along the edge of a railway track, but on this side of the fence. It wasn't on the actual railway track side of the fence, because this woman's land, this family's land, dropped down into a valley, into a railway cutting, it's called over here. So she watched this creature for a couple of minutes. It just plodded along, and she told me out the blue about it, and it was like this woman I've known for a long, long time is really grounded, really no nonsense, no message. And when she told me, everything come flooding back about when I was a kid. So that's set me off then onto looking into what all these people were talking about when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and going right up to date now. A lot of the talk of tunnels, hidden waterways, mines, things that go bump in the night, have all more or less come true now. I've found all this evidence. I've got a lot of it on my channel. It's just so obvious that all the time it was just there staring in your face, but no one stuck their nose in and looked into it to see if it was all real or anything. And it's still, now people to this day are still sending me emails saying we've seen this animal that looks like a baboon, but it's running around and it's sliding like a human, but it's on 4 legs 1 minute, but then it's not. And it's all in the same area. So to go back from being a little child who used to think, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. What is it just there to scare us? It's when you get out there, you get your hands dirty and you do a little bit, you then start to find out for yourself that these things must be real. Because people, why talk about things about caves that are all connected to them? And that evidence is there. And it does exist. And that's my story.
Someone asked, well, I think it was Cajun Dog asked if I thought that the 13th Warrior were a type of Bigfoot. I think if you look at the original scripting of Beowulf, the description of Grendel is very much like a Bigfoot, and I think that early epic poem was actually describing a Bigfoot creature, what they refer to in Northern Europe as the wood woes.
Yeah,
But
the
but
green man.
as far as what they were describing in Michael Crichton's book, Eaters of the Dead, I tend to think that was just more of like a cannibalistic tribe that wanted people to think they were animals more than it. And I think that was probably just one of those things to cover up the fact that they were cannibals. Because if they were seen as, and the movie kind of sort of touched on that without really saying that's why, the line Antonio Banderas says, bears. They want us to think they're bears. Well, why would you want somebody to think you're a bear? Well, because cannibalism is not something that's exactly, all hunky dory with everybody. But if you're some kind of creature or a bear or something like that, that's the way I interpret it anyway. I mean, I may be totally off the mark with that, but I think Michael Crichton's book, because if you read the book is nothing like the movie. The book is more like a diary. Wouldn't you describe it that way, DA?
Yeah, it's the diary of Ibn Fadlan.
And it was not easy to get a movie out of the book. If you've read the book, you'll understand. So I think that was what Michael Crichton's or his take on the journal entries was that this was just a cannibalistic tribe that wanted people to think they were something else to cover the fact that they were cannibals.
Yeah, but the way it was written, you could have easily inserted Bigfoot type creatures.
Yeah, I mean,
the story would have
anything. And they picked bears just because they picked bears. I mean, like you said, they could have done wolves, they could have done Bigfoot, they could have done bears, they could have done anything.
Could have done Wendigo. It's cold enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was
a
just
North American legend.
Yeah,
it's a Native American legend. I don't know if there's anything like that in Northern Europe. Hey, Leon. So about 5 months ago, back in July of this year, Robbie, Steve, and I, and a few other guys. There were 7 of us in total. Wyatt Estes, who's in the chat, I believe I saw him, and 2 of my old lieutenants from Greene County. They were both deputy sheriffs with me. We all went into an area called Combs Ferry. Combs Ferry is a campground that's been shut down for about 30 years, and the Army Corps of Engineers owned it, and they went so far as to bulldoze off the way to get into it by land. We had to go in by boat at night to sneak in there. And we found some tracks. We heard some vocalizations. We had rocks thrown at us. But the most interesting thing happened when I was looking on the ground for tracks and, kind of plotting the way we were going. Robbie and Wyatt found this, and I'll let him tell you about what he found. And as I bring the images up, and Steve can tell you his reaction. Go ahead,
very
Robbie.
explicit. Okay, so like DA said, he was up front in the group. Steve was towards the middle of the group, and Wyatt and I were in the back of the group, just kind of walking, talking really slow. Nobody had their lights on at this time. Well, Wyatt was to my left, so I was looking at him, looking to my left, and as I'm looking at him talking, like I said, it's dark, but I just saw something in the tree that just didn't look right. I'm like, something's just off about the way those limbs look. So I told him, I said, hold on a second, White. And I got everybody's attention. I said, I'm about to turn my light on. So I turned my light on, and that's what we saw. And that's about 6.5, 7 feet off the ground. And
Yeah,
In a tree
I
that
would
is not
say
big
that-
enough to support a big cat.
Yeah, it's about a 4 or 5 inch in diameter tree, and the highest point of that's maybe 8 feet off the ground.
It's been placed there, hasn't it? Someone hasn't climbed up and put it there. It's been put there.
Well, it hadn't been cut either. It had been twisted off.
Yeah, it's the forelimb of a deer.
what'd you
There's
call
a
it,
slightly
Steve?
better view of it.
Mechanically separated?
Oh yeah, it's disarticulated at what would be the elbow. If that were a human, it would be its right arm from the elbow down to the hand.
With a bunch
the
of
elbow would be
skin
the-
that's been probably the shoulders.
Yeah, that
it's
bicep tear that you had would have been what's twisted and hanging in the tree right now.
In that bit there, yeah. Oh,
And it was
It gets better.
they didn't even bother whatever put it there didn't even bother to take the skin off first. It just disarticulated its skin and all.
We think that was placed there probably about the time we arrived on the peninsula, because the blood was still red and there was no odor to it. It hadn't even had a chance to turn rancid, and it was hot in July. I mean, it was the night we were there. It was probably 85 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit just at night.
yeah, that'd have been
the bugs
teeming
were
with
thick.
flies and everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the bugs were thick.
Yep.
That would have had blowflies on it immediately.
Mm.
Yeah, there was none of that on it. The blood was still red. We think that had been placed there, and not 20 yards away on the other side of the trail we were walking on, we found this.
Get away.
And that tree's about an inch in diameter, and that is just
That was
above eye
about head
level for
level.
me. Yeah, so I'm 6 feet tall. It was just above eye level.
That I've never seen anything like that. That looks like it's been bitten off.
Yeah,
Missouri tree trout.
yeah, it's a Missouri tree trout. There's the back end. That's not been cut. Lines are not clean enough for that to have been cut.
Steve
No,
was
it's been
making
bitten.
jokes
It's
so he
been
didn't-
chewed. It's been bitten. And
Steve
how
was
far
making
is
jokes
that
so he
from
didn't run
water?
off and screaming in terror.
We were probably
Yeah.
30 or 40 yards from the lake about that point.
Right.
Now, bear in mind,
So
you can't get to this place by land.
Yeah.
You know,
You can't
They're-
get in there by a car. And
They're
the
6 foot
place
tall
is completely
berms.
destroyed and overgrown. You couldn't get a vehicle in there if you wanted to.
Yeah. I've never seen that. That is a fish, a pelagic, a fish. I've never seen that at all. You hear about floods when fish jump up for things and get stuck in trees and that, but that's not been there long at all. If
It was
it had
dry.
jumped out the tree and got stuck, the flood would still be there because that
Right.
still looks pretty fresh.
lake-
That does.
The lake couldn't get that high because the lake
Yeah.
was up. We were there, and it was already up to the spillway on the dam. There's no way it could have
Yeah.
gotten another 10 to 15
Oh, but-
feet
yeah.
up from the lake without breaking the dam.
See, the things like this, my brain works. I don't know about everyone else's, but I'm dyslexic and I can't spell a damn word. But my brain works in a certain way where, when I see that, I start to work backwards. Then, because people will jump on it and say it's been flooded and it's jumped through and it's got stuck. So how I investigate things, I work backwards. I know it doesn't sound right, but it's I don't know how
Hey,
everyone
whatever
else does it.
works.
Yeah, it's but that's blown my mind. That is.
Well,
That's a good.
it gets better. Like I said, this was back in July. Okay. This
Yeah.
was 3 weeks ago. My son Noah and I found this out in the woods. This was not anywhere. This was in the old Joe Bald abandoned campground, but it was off the beaten path.
What the
And if you look
hide?
right over here, that's part of its backbone. The head had been torn off at about the shoulders.
It's like it's been degloved.
Now,
And there's more.
Well, but look, but there's no blood on it or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't killed there. It was dumped there. And we found all 4 of its lower legs. And you can see this one, the bone, that's sinew that's been twisted, and that bone is not at a straight angle. That was not chopped off. That was snapped off above the joint.
Yeah. It's twisting away.
There's the other one. You can see the jagged bone.
And that's at Joe Bald.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll show you the video we took. We'll play the video that we took while we were there as well.
All right, everybody. So we're in Joe Bald right now. We decided to take a little look-see around. And as you can see, there is parts of a deer strewn about,
If you notice,
including broken bone.
this has not been cut off. This has been snapped off. And it's the same way on all of them. There's a huge chunk of bone there. All of the legs. This one's been disarticulated completely at the joint. This one's been snapped off. You can see where it's part of the sinew still attached. Hell, it's twisted. You can see where that's been twisted off. That was not cut. But the real kicker is the head. Head's missing the eyes. That is most of the skin.
It's just missing the meat.
The head has been pulled off with the skin still attached to it.
The meat and guts is all that's missing.
Yeah, there's no gut pile. Yeah, if this was a poacher, there'd be a gut pile. But the legs were disarticulated, the head was yanked off along with most of the hide, and everything else was taken. And this is just right here in Joe Bald.
Also, if you look at the trail on either side of us, there's no indication that it was dragged.
No, this was not dragged in here. And you can see there's an old road right in through here. There has not been vehicle traffic through here in a good long time.
There is an old bucket right here, but it's not a gut bucket, I don't think.
Well, it's busted too.
Yeah, it's been there longer than this corpse has.
That corpse is fairly fresh. It doesn't even stink. Eyeball complete. Yeah, there were flies on it, but there was no smell. It had not been there.
Yeah, it's that there's some video out there going back years. I think the BBC caught it the first time going years, and it was a troop of chimpanzees that got into eating meat, and they were hunting. I think there were spider monkeys and things like that. And it showed a shot of the remains of this monkey once these chimpanzees had ripped it to pieces. And that looking at them bones that were sticking out with the sinew and everything, it looked very similar to. If you Google that, you will find it chimpanzees hunting monkeys or something. You'll find it's not very nice. In fact, it's horrible really to watch, but you will see that same devastation. Yeah, if someone's gone.
I've got 2 more videos. We found these last year, and Robbie was with us. Let me bring this up. I've got 2 other videos, but these won't have audio because they're too big for me to upload. So I've just got to share them with an open window. This one was missing the antlers, but it was in the middle of the road. As we drove down here to this area, it was in the middle of the road. And it also is not, somebody took the antlers. I think somebody just cut them off because they look flush, but the head was not cut off smooth. The head is jagged. It's missing both eyes, and it's missing its tongue and most of the soft tissue around the mouth.
That's been ripped off, hasn't it? Look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well jagged.
Takes a little bit of force to do that.
Yeah, let
Just
me,
a bit.
all right, let me bring up the other one because that's pretty much all of that one. But let me bring this one up and prep it. This was in the same area, but about, what would you say, about 7,500 yards away, Robbie?
Yeah, give or take.
Be somewhere in that ballpark. And you can, in the back, well, you can't hear the audio. You could hear a boat down on the river, down a ways away from us, but there was nobody around but us. And that hide looked like it had been just torn and thrown off to the side.
Yeah, just like the one that they found earlier, or that you saw earlier.
And this was multiple carcasses.
A boneyard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about this head here is the top of the head is missing, and so are the brains.
Good God, you had a big hole.
And that the whole body had basically been stripped of meat. If you were processing a deer to take home, you would leave the meat on the ribs because you cook it that way. That has been completely denuded of any kind of flesh. Debrided, I mean, not denuded.
It takes some force to do that.
Well, it was denuded too because the
hide had
hide's gone.
basically been pulled off and thrown off to the side. If that had been somebody that had skinned it to keep the hide, that is not how you skin a deer. The hide was just wadded up and thrown off to the side like it had been grabbed, pulled off, and tossed.
Yeah, there aren't too many critters that will eat brains.
Yeah.
If you think of the force involved to do them breaks,
Yeah,
and this when you cook a leg of lamb and you want to take the lamb shank off, or you want to debone it, when you get to the bit where the bone is and you've got to do it yourself, you have to put it on the side of your kitchen counter and pop it open.
Even
and I'm a strong guy, but to do it like that, it's like
chicken is hard.
Yeah, it's hard enough doing it for a rabbit.
Hen, separating the bones is not easy.
That's some force.
Opening up the calvarium, the brain case, to get the brain out of that thing. You're talking bone that's a half-inch thick in some places. You're not doing that very easily. To do it under controlled circumstances. Yeah, we use it. In the healthcare setting, we use a saw, and it's still some work.
Yeah, I wanted to share those with you to see what you think.
They're the fish one. That's got me.
Well, this is about the point on the in the trip, where I was tagging along as the medic, where Robbie asked me how I felt about my beliefs now, and I think my exact response was "Fuck you, Robbie." Pretty much.
Pretty much. That was his.
Yeah.
It's I did an investigation in the where I saying about the Dogman creature that ran up the side of the quarry. It was actually a guy who was out there with an air rifle, just plinking, and he saw this beast. But anyway, we went down to film it, me and my son, and my son didn't believe in any of all this. He's 21 now, but back then he would have been about 19 or something like that. And I said, I need you to film. Me. So I'm in this quarry and we're walking around and I'm talking to camera and telling them the camera and the viewers like what's happened. And Max, my son, is listening to it and I'm watching him like he's got his eye because his eyebrows going. And like, all right, maybe it's I don't believe all this, whatever it is. So we finished. We wrapped up. Got all the shots I needed. And we walked out of this quarry, and as we were walking out of it, we found these footprints I was talking about that were canine. It was as big as my glasses. And my son did the same thing. He looked down at these footprints. He went, "Is that what we're supposed to be looking for, Dad?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Oh fuck." And it was the same kind of thing. It suddenly just went bang. All this thing that my dad and whoever's been talking about, it's there. It's on the ground, and you can see it.
Well, both of the locations are kind of ate up with wild dogs and whatnot because humans don't really hang out there a whole lot. They're both decommissioned camp areas, and so DA was like, we don't want to show up like a platoon of Marines, but make sure you're armed. There's a lot of dogs out there. There could be a whole bunch of things that
mountain lions, bears, any number of things.
Exactly, mountain lions, black bears, coyotes, meth heads, those type of things. So I think more or less we were all armed with 9mm pistols
at the least,
and I had my gun holstered and everything, and like I was supposed to be the group's medic, so I had some trauma gear and a first aid kit and a backpack. Well, at the time that we discovered that first hanging deer leg in the tree, I didn't realize it yet, but I had broken my leg when I got off the boat. And so at this point, I was in quite a bit of pain, and I was walking on a broken fibula. And so the more the reality of the situation hit me, the more scared I got, because I picture myself as the wounded gazelle, that the group of cheetah are trying to take out,
And I know he cussed me out too.
I noticed that Robbie and Wyatt and a couple of the other guys were clearly herding me into the center of the crowd. And I'm like, okay, they're concerned I'm going to get eaten. Awesome. I'm like, I think it's about time to de-ass this situation very quickly.
Yeah, when it all suddenly comes crashing down on you, it's like, oh God.
Yeah, and at that point, I didn't care if it was a mountain lion, a wolf, or a Jehovah's Witness. If I was going to be eaten, I was not wanting to be a part of that.
And I've seen some people in the chat saying that they thought it was a cougar and all this kind of stuff. You see the size of this coaster right here, right? That tree was just a little bit bigger around than that. So
it wasn't big enough to support a 200-pound cat.
Not too many mountain lions are going to climb up a tree just a little bit bigger around than that.
Not to mention all those little branches sticking out. There's no way a cat that big could have climbed it.
Well, the branches weren't broken.
The branches were broken.
Yeah, little side branches weren't broken, as if something had climbed up it. Assuming I was a little more
leg
alive.
And the fish head just across the trail from it, I think that was a warning to get out of the area, because as soon as we passed that point, they started getting aggressive.
Well, and just for throwing that out, this is our speculation, but as soon as you told William what we found, where we found, and how it was, William's answer was, "Oh, that was a warning to y'all." Before we even said that, we were already thinking it. We never said it to him. That was Williams. Oh, that was a warning for y'all not to pass that.
And we did pass it. It was definitely a territorial marker. Well, at that point, Estrella and I, Lieutenant Estrella, he's one of my colleagues from county. Him and I were looking at the map on his phone of the area. We were looking at the satellite map. And since Steve was already hurt, I said, look, if we continue on around the peninsula and back to our point where we put in, he's going to have to walk about another mile. I said, but it looks like the old boat dock, the old boat ramp is still partially intact on this map. I said, how far is that? And he goes, probably 100 yards, maybe less. And I said, all right, well, let's make for that. So I got on the radio and called Richard, who was on the boat waiting for us. And the boat was so small, he had to bring us in groups. Me and Robbie and Noah were the first 3 on the ground, and we discovered that 3 in that boat was probably too many with Richard. So from then on, it was 2 apiece. So we call Richard on the radio. We tell him we're coming out to the boat dock. He'll have to come around the peninsula to get us. So when Richard comes in with Steve hurt, I put him and Lieutenant Jenkins on the boat at first thing. And it was about 20 minutes before Richard could get back to pick up the next group. And I sent my philosophy was I was going to be the first set of boots on the ground, and I was going to be the last to leave, because it was the whole thing was my plan. I wanted to be in there, and I'm not going to leave anybody or send anybody in where I'm not willing to go myself. But anyway, the second group goes out. It's a group of 2, and when it was just me and Noah and Steve, and me and Noah and Robbie on the ground, just the 3 of us left, we could hear them moving in closer to us. They started getting really aggressive, and at that point, they were getting so close, and the woods were pretty dense around us, that Robbie, Noah, and I all drew our weapons and backed up to the edge of the water. We were actually standing in the water a few inches deep, standing there trying to keep everything away. And when we could hear the boat coming, I'm like, all right, last group, Noah, you and Robbie get out of here. I'm staying. And Robbie started arguing with me. He's like, nope. If anybody's staying, it's going to be me. I'm like, nope, this was my expedition. If anybody's going to be the last set of boots on the ground, it's going to be me. And Robbie was having none of that. But when Richard pulled up, I said, hey, this is getting a little hairy. Do you think we can go ahead and risk getting all 3 of us on the boat again? He's like, yeah, get ashore and we get aboard. And we all 3 climbed aboard the boat, and he started very slowly backing the boat away from the shore. And he had a very powerful spotlight plugged in on the boat, and he lit up that shoreline, and there was green eye shine all around where we had just been standing. And it was set in the trees. You couldn't see them, but there was at least a dozen of them. And they were close, like within feet of where we'd been standing. I'm pretty sure if one of us had stayed behind, no matter who it had been, when the boat came back, they wouldn't have been there.
It'd have been gone, yeah.
I think that's all they were waiting on, is to pick a straggler off.
Yeah. Hairy.
To me, that was one of the most hair-raising encounters I've had. Even though they never came out where we could actually see them.
When you're going back? When you're going back? Do you need a crazy guy with a machete with you?
We're definitely going back. Not once the weather is cooled off, or we've gotten rid of all the bugs. We're going to go back in. And I've noticed that they're more active during the colder months around here. So we're gonna take a boat in. Hopefully, we'll be able to take a pontoon boat so we can all go in at the same time. But we didn't even get to explore the entire park. It's probably 200 acres. If we'd have walked the entire thing, it probably would have been the better part of 3 miles doing the complete loop, and we only did about a mile of it.
And we could use a mad Englishman with a machete.
Yeah, I've checked the passport.
But yeah, there's more of it unexplored so far than we actually explored.
Definitely needs to go back there. Yeah.
Tell him about the furniture.
Yeah, we forgot about that.
I'm gonna step away for a second, but I'll be listening.
Okay. Robbie, you want to tell him about that? I've been talking a lot.
Well, you the one that found that. I was still focused on the deer, so I can't. All I can tell is what I've heard you say. I saw it, but you were the one that found it. Because I was still back there looking at the deer hide when you found that. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Well, this campground used to have concrete picnic tables and benches, and over in Joe Bald, a lot of those are still intact, and it's been abandoned almost as long. A lot of those are still intact. Some of them are kind of cracked and broken, but most of them look like you could go up and clean the brush out and sit down and have a picnic dinner. Combs Ferry looks like a bomb went off. It's all destroyed. And right after we found the deer leg and the fish in the tree, I came upon something in the middle of the trail, and I was trying to figure out what it was. It turns out it was a tabletop from one of those concrete picnic tables. It was about 6 to 8 inches thick, about 6 feet wide, and maybe 10 to 12 feet long. That probably weighed every bit of 12 to 1,400 pounds, and it had been picked up and ripped off of one of those picnic tables and thrown in the middle of the trail about 30 yards from the campsite.
Oh, God. That's some force, that is.
That is a tremendous amount of force. There were 7 of us there, and none of us were small guys, and I don't think we could have picked it up.
Yeah, between y'all, yeah. It's
well, me and Wyatt and Estrella tried to pick up one piece that was probably, I would say, it's about the size of a large pizza box. The 3 of us couldn't lift it. We each grabbed a piece of rebar, and we could not budge it.
Well,
and
if we had Baby Holt with us, he probably could have picked it up.
And he might have.
You know, I was probably, the smallest of the group of the 3 of us. And, at that time I was 250 pounds, 6 feet tall. I'm not a tiny dude. and it was very interesting. And bear in mind, no vehicles can get up in there, so it's not like some joker is going to pull in a tractor trailer and roll out a forklift to move that stuff around.
It has literally been bulldozed off. The road in there is bulldozed off. There's an area of boulders probably 3 feet high that we had to climb over just to get out of the area. There's no way you could get a vehicle over that. And even if you could, the terrain is so overgrown and there's so many boulders and crap laying in the trails, you couldn't get anything in through there. You couldn't ride a bike through there. You couldn't get a motorcycle through there. It is just completely destroyed. And it's a hazard to walk through there, let alone try to get a vehicle.
Without a walking staff, you could barely walk through there.
Bad.
Yeah, it was mad. And definitely made me change my my willingness to accept the evidence. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it would do seeing things like that.
Well, and you know, Steve and I talked about this after it was over, and I saw this going on, and he just vocalized it to me after we were. And I guess we were back in the parking lot or on the dock or something when we had this discussion, or maybe it was even
back to the truck. I think we were unloading guns.
We had a further conversation about it when me and you were waiting on DA at that little restaurant was at. But I saw Steve in his mind. I know Steve. I know how he is, and I know he's an ER nurse. He's seen a lot of stuff. Just like DA and I have seen stuff in law enforcement. Steve's seen a lot of bad stuff working in ER, and I see the thought process going on in his head. Okay, I see this. What can do this? Okay, wolves can do this. Way too high up in a tree for a wolf. Bears can do this, but how is a bear holding a deer skin in its mouth going to get up there and stretch it across these limbs?
And why would it?
A cougar could do it, but the tree is way too small for a big cat to climb it. Plus, most of the time, if a cougar kills something, it takes it up a tree. They don't take it up the tree right at the tree where they've killed, because the blood I don't think DA showed that picture, but there was blood and fur at the bottom of that tree. That's not typical behavior because if that's the kill site, the reason cougars kill up a tree 9 times out of 10 is so they are away from other predators. Well, if that's the kill site, what's that going to do? That's going to bring other predators in. There was some reason that there was other predators not coming around that area.
Well, and typically a mountain lion is trying to save the rest of its kill for later. What was put in the tree wasn't a real valuable. It wasn't a real valuable piece of meat. I mean, it's
wouldn't waste energy doing that.
Yeah, it was
any animal.
A few bones in the foreleg, maybe some gristle.
Yeah, if I was starving, I'd make a soup out of it, maybe. But I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of protein.
This is a map of Combs Ferry. The lake was really up. We put in about here, and we went around the point. We put in. I'm sorry, I had my mouse in the wrong pot. We put in about here.
Yeah.
And we went out to the tip of the peninsula, came back down this way, all the way down here, and right around, I think in here is where we found the fish in the tree and the deer leg. But we came farther down here, and this is the remnants of the old boat launch. It's still there. It's the concrete's busted up. But this is where we took out. We still didn't make it all the way down here, nor cover the other backside of the peninsula. So we only explored maybe a third of it.
Definitely needs more time on that.
Yeah, we need to go back and spend a lot more time there.
I was going to say trail cams, but I've never had much success with trail cams.
And I've heard that as well. A lot of people don't have much luck with them. So I think they're able to see. I think they're able to see the IR beam.
In the area. We don't have wolverines this far south, unfortunately.
Speaking of wolverines, there was just a sighting of one in Montana. But it's very rare for a wolverine to be spotted in the lower 48. But I don't think there's been a wolverine sighting in Missouri in probably 150 years.
Yeah. And we don't really even have that many badgers. I mean, I've seen a couple in my life. Lifetime in the woods.
But you were an Eagle Scout, weren't you?
Right.
And
a lot of primitive camping.
The other thing is that the bark wasn't even torn up on the tree.
Right.
No claw
No,
marks.
no claw
There's
marks on the
no
tree.
claw marks on the tree.
Yeah, I couldn't have climbed up that tree without damaging it more than we saw it to be damaged. Not that I'm that spry anyway, but you know, there was virtually no damage to the tree. It was. I still have more questions than I have answers about all of it, to be honest with you.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating area, and I'm real big thanks to Wyatt and Richard for getting us in there, because I don't know that we could have gotten in there without them.
Well, I wish we could do it in the daylight where we could see everything better to make sure we're not missing anything. You know, you
My
won't see
only
much
concern with
activity.
going in there in the daylight is being seen.
Yeah,
I
we're not
don't know
supposed to be.
if we're going to get ran out of there by the water patrol or the conservation, and I don't know how much activity we're going to get during the day.
Oh, sure.
I think our best chance of finding more is going back in there again at night, maybe doing an overnight in there.
You need big balls for that place.
I believe that will take a degree of testicular fortitude that I do not possess, sir.
Yes.
Well, I found the rest of the pictures from Combs Ferry. I'll go ahead and share those and let you take a look at all of them, because it'll give you a really good idea of what it's like in there. This is a dried up mud flat area. Next to that phone, we found a partial print, and I think it was definitely a Bigfoot print, but it was that mud was so dry and flaky. There's no way we could have cast it. It would have destroyed the track. There's one of the boulders in the middle of the trail and some of the trees that are knocked over. A lot of trees down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so wait, go back one, DA.
Okay.
So that little object in the middle there is my wallet. It's the dimensions of a credit card, and there's a track. Yeah, just
yeah.
The toes right there, and the heel was back here.
But that is a big,
barefoot print.
You're talking a wallet roughly the size of this card.
That print shrunk as well, so it was even bigger.
Yeah.
But kind of getting a rough estimate of the size of it there in the dried mud, it looked to be about 16 to 17 inches long, which means if that mud was wet, it was probably closer to 18 to 19.
Yeah.
And you can't really see the track as well. It's right there. Doesn't have anything for scale there. That's underneath the tree, and of course there's the blood underneath the tree where we found the leg. And you notice the blood is still red. Blood tends to turn brown.
Yeah, it goes brown, doesn't it? Yeah.
There's another view of the leg.
Yeah, now look at the limb right under that, Leon. You see there's where the blood's dripped down, and still that's a really good shot of how red the blood is still in that tree. And see, you can see there's no claw marks on that tree. Nothing's been torn up on it.
No, there's nothing.
And the
and
branch
those
is hanging over
tree
is like
limbs,
an
there's
inch
so
in
many
diameter.
of them. It would be very, very difficult for a cat of any kind, a big cat of any kind, to get up in that tree. But the way that's draped around these branches, that to me, it just says that had to be something with hands.
Yeah.
There's a little farther out view
it's been
of
put
it.
There. The reason that's been put there is that isn't been put there to keep other predators away, because someone's going to come back and eat it, because you wouldn't eat that. It's been put there as to like, it's a sign. It's a no entry. It's we know you're coming and we know you're here. Especially when it's so red, all that blood as well.
Oops, that's too far. But you can see how overgrown that place is. At one time, there was a paved road that went through the park to the picnic areas. There are remnants of that, but even that is so broken and overgrown. Yeah, and there are rocks in the middle of it and trees pushed down. Even where the old paved road used to be is impassable. I mean, you've got to really climb over.
How close is that to Joe Bald?
About, as the crow flies, it's only about 6 or 7 miles. But it's on the opposite side of the lake.
Yeah.
It's not far from Joe Bald.
It's not far, really, no. That's the fish is the one for me that I've never seen.
Yeah, the fish made no sense. It's like what the hell?
I'm just trying to look. You can almost see where it looks like it's been bitten in half.
You can see
Yeah.
the jagged edges of it.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't cut with a fillet knife. Now the eyeballs are missing, but you know, a bird would have taken the eyeballs immediately, just about. So that's
And you
not a
can
big
see how
surprise.
small. You can see how small a diameter that tree is. That certainly didn't support a big cat, because it was only maybe as big around as that silver coin you sent me.
Hmm. Got you. Yeah.
Maybe an inch in diameter.
Yeah, it wouldn't support anything. That.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No,
it
I
was
could have
just
grabbed the
that-
tree and broken it off at the trunk.
I'll be keeping my eyes out for things like that over here. I've never the fish. Yeah.
Well,
Stumped me.
about the time we found the fish, Wyatt made the comment that they probably move in the trees. And so then the rest of the time we were just freaked out looking up at the trees to see if it was above us. Because there was like a heavy double or triple canopy of branches. You know, it was a very heavy forest.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot these. Wyatt and Richard, when they went to put the boat back on the trailer to take it away from the lake, they found these next to where they'd parked the truck. That's a wallet in that soft gravel, that little river gravel. That's like a credit card size wallet laying next to the track. But it had to be something pretty heavy to make that kind of indention in rock. And that's actually Combs Ferry. We took that picture from off the shore as we were leaving, and the camera only picked up one piece of eye shine, but it was all over this area.
Yeah.
The camera only caught one bit of it. Unfortunately,
it's like they were being watched by the children of the corn.
Yeah.
There's that broken picnic table.
The table.
The top of it was, in fact, I think I've got a picture of the top of it.
You do.
Fish head.
There's the tree trout again.
Part of one of the picnic tables that has just been destroyed. That's the group of us.
It's the gruesome group.
Hold on, I know I've got that top of that picnic table. Just not finding it.
Yeah, we were so in awe. I don't think we took as many pictures as we should have for evidence gathering.
Oh yeah, we definitely should have taken more pictures than we did.
Yeah. Guilty of that.
I don't think I took one of the tabletop in the road. I don't have one of those pictures.
I thought we had one. But yeah, it was a good size table.
There's Steve getting a close up.
Meaty.
Well, it kind of gives you an idea of how high it is too. You know, it's taller than me.
Like Robbie was saying, the dimension of that tree.
Yeah,
it's not huge.
No, it's not. Like I said, I'm 6 feet tall, so that's maybe 7 feet off the ground in a tree that's 4 or 5 inches in diameter. You know, I'm too heavy to climb that tree, assuming I had the athletic ability to do it.
Sorry. You can't hear the audio on that, so it was just me introducing.
Who was that then? Dusty Bottoms, Lucky Day, and Ned Niederlander.
That's right.
Do you know who they are, guys?
Three amigos.
Amigos. Watched that movie the other day.
It's a great film.
Sorry, I'm being silly again.
Oh, Wyatt says he tried to take a picture of the table. It was just too dark. It didn't come out.
Yeah, even with our headlamps, it was so dark in there. I've got a night filter on my phone, and if I'd have been thinking, I'd have been taking images with that. I'm hoping I can pick up one of those low light adapters, it's a low light camera adapter that plugs into the bottom of your phone, and they're a little pricey, but they take some amazing nighttime pictures.
Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. You might need like a bipod, keep it still a bit more as well, depending on what the camera is itself. But you like to be a lot still.
Well, here's another head scratcher for you. Here in Missouri, there's a cave called Smiddle Cave, and the family that owned it was the Smittle family, and the Missouri Department of Conservation, took their land. They basically fought them in court, but took their land from them. This cave is supposed to be the 5th largest cave in Missouri.
Was there a reason for it?
They claimed it was because of an endangered species of bat, but this species of brown bat's in every cave in Missouri.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
Every cave. But
I hear you, Dr.
when
Evil.
they took control of that cave, when Missouri Department of Conservation one thing they did is they bulldozed out the driveway, so it's very much more difficult to get to this cave. But then they put this in there, and that's a person down there at the bottom for scale. And that's concreted into the rock of the
big damn bats.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all, does it? There's things like that over here, and you think, why would you put all that time and energy in for a bloody? They have a lot of the same problem here. Oh, it's got bats in it. They're endangered species.
Auspicious dwelling for a filthy flying rodent.
Yeah, look at it. That's well cemented in there, isn't it?
Oops. Yeah.
It's just. It screams. That screams. Come in and have a look.
Yeah, that's probably 40 feet high.
Yeah.
Because you saw the picture of the guy standing at the base of it, and he's just flipping tiny compared to it. And that is overkill to keep somebody out of a cave. You could have put a chain link fence to keep people out.
Yeah, well, that's like it's like one of Donald's fences, isn't it? It's a proper job. That is proper job. But that happens over here. The same. Not as big as that, but yeah, we get railway tunnels all bricked up, and I mean proper bricked up, concrete, stone, the whole lot. And you think it's took 5 guys 2 weeks to do all this. It's how much does it cost to do it? Just to stop someone walking through a tunnel or going into a bit of a cave. And there's a reason. We all know there's a reason, but we know what's going on. Skull Island, yeah, it does look like Skull Island.
Well, and
they want to keep something. They want to keep something big contained.
And somebody said in the comments earlier, and we were talking, so I didn't get a chance to do anything except read it. But they said, some of these big network shows don't find that's because they're not trying to get out there and find. They're just out there for ratings. We're out there actually trying to find answers. So we're going to tell you what we find. We're not. If we don't find anything, we're going to tell you. No, we didn't find anything. Not. Did you hear that? We heard it. It was over there. I swear.
That's entertainment. It is. It's
the wood knocks. Yes.
Yeah.
Some of my videos on YouTube and that will go out, and I'll say at the end, either this is a wild goose chase, or we just can't find any evidence of it, but we're out there looking for it. And sometimes you don't always find it. When you do find it, we're going to show it you. But going back to those TV programs, like you're saying, they're there for a reason. It is entertainment. And if they give too much real evidence, the shit would hit the fan, really.
Well, when we went into Joe Bald the first time, this was just me and Steve. Steve, this was what, 5 years ago when we recorded that video? 5 or 6?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, is this the one in the tree?
Yeah. Did we show you those before?
Yeah. Put them on again. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, we didn't even realize for like a year that we'd caught anything on camera. There you got a circle around where you can kind of see it peeking out.
Yeah.
And
we can't have a proper cryptid photo without a red circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the hand that gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can clearly see the hand.
And that's a hand. It's like poking around.
Yeah, it gets me is that I was pissing on that tree that not too
Yeah,
long
I was
before
going to
that.
say you were taking a squirt, weren't you? And
I was.
right up against it.
He'd have been doing more
Apparently-
taking a squirt if he knew what was up there watching him.
Oh,
Apparently
God.
that whatever that was has a sweet tooth for diabetic urine, I suppose.
Yeah, that.
Yeah,
I
we
remember
didn't
that.
have a clue
Bloody hell.
that was there.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
bet you're glad
it was
you didn't
18
now.
months later when it was pointed out to you.
Right.
Yeah, 18 months had gone by.
That's the one that I really like.
That
Because even though it's badly pixelated, because it was shot on an iPhone 7, even though it's badly pixelated, you can still pick out the nose, the ears, the eyes.
But once
that
you
looks like a
watch the-
canine's head.
But once you watch the video and you see that thing move up behind the tree and out, you can't unsee it, and you just can't look at it and say, well, that's it. That is clearly, especially when it moves its hand. Oh, I'm getting myself
And
cold.
it's about 9.5 feet off the ground. We went back to that exact tree and measured, and there's nothing behind that tree, even still, that could account for that. There's no bushes back there.
We walked up to it when me, you, and Noah went over there.
Yeah. In fact, I've got some shots of that. Let me get to them. Got some shots of that exact same area in the daylight. That was we found that right up there by it. That's a chunk of a deer spine, we think. And that would be the tree. That's an overlay of where its head would have been.
Yeah, that's good. That's good showing it that.
That's the area without that little box. That's the tree. And this little cedar could not account for that. In fact, this was taken about a year later. So at the time we caught that on video, that cedar was probably only about this tall.
Yeah, they don't move as well.
Yeah, they don't grow that fast. And that's a different angle. This is the area right over here where that tree's at. I'm sorry, no, it's right here. Is it just me, or does it look like something standing here? Oh no, you can't see it because the thing's in the way. Look right here. Does it look like something standing between those trees?
It does. Something big.
It looks like Woody.
I was just going to say,
it looks like somebody up there with a big hat on.
There's a snake in my boot.
What the hell? I've never noticed that before.
I think you've caught an old timer ghost.
Woody.
Prospector.
That's freaking wild.
Stinky Pete.
Yeah.
He's looking for Buzz.
Look at that.
How did you even notice that from that normal camera angle, DA?
From on this camera angle?
Yeah, from that. How did you notice that up there?
I just happened to look up there and caught the pattern. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is that? And the icon was over it. You guys couldn't see it because that was like this, so you guys wouldn't have seen it. And even when I was moving the mouse, you guys weren't seeing it. So I had to move this down out of the way, and then I just zoomed in on it. It does. It looks like Woody from freaking Toy Story.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go back now and see what that is.
That's probably a great example of pareidolia.
Yeah.
Our mind finding patterns in places where there's really nothing there. And that's probably nothing other than just a leaf or something like that just looked weird in the camera. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that's just pure pareidolia.
Yeah, it is pareidolia. But how we both went, there's a snake in my boot, which is something we've seen before. It's just your brain fills all the gaps in, don't it?
Yep.
But that's a good spot. That is a good spot.
That was what I was thinking. When you rolled it up, I'm like,
coming for you.
Oh Lord.
don't know what it is, but I would put money on that just being pareidolia, just some sort of weird blob shape that happens to look like something.
I think Roxanne's right. That's a heck of a big leaf if that's a leaf.
It is a big leaf.
Be interested to see you have a look at it now. Go back and take another photograph. Wait for
Well, Noah and I are planning on going back down there. And this is a great image. Although this is just something to kind of give people a good idea of what it would look like. But this is a standard person, next to what some of the reported heights for Bigfoot.
Mm.
How massive those things would be, even at 8 and 9 feet tall, they're still probably twice or 3 times our body mass.
Yeah, the strength that is.
And at 10 or 11 feet tall, probably 5 times our body mass.
Definite. You think how strong a chimpanzee is compared to a human?
And just scale that up.
Well,
Definitely.
think of the squared cubed law. You know, if you square the surface area, you're going to cube the volume. You know, it would be absolutely massive because you figure its weight's going to be a function of its volume.
Yeah. A photograph came up online this week, and it was a bull moose, which is huge, in a woodland, and at the side, a bit further to the left of it, it looked like this figure stood in the trees, and it looked just like a Bigfoot, but for it to be a Bigfoot, it must have been 15 foot tall because it looked so big next to this moose. It was like either someone is trying to blow your brain to how big they are, or that's a real photograph and they have no idea how big they could really get. Because
a moose can get 10, 12 feet tall.
Yeah, they're enormous, aren't they?
The rats will be 8 or 9 feet across.
In Alaska, a moose kill more people than bears do.
Yeah, but this Bigfoot-like creature that was in the woods near it was towering over it. That must have, I don't know how big it was, but and it weren't a perfect picture, but it was, like I said, it was one of them. The guy was taking a photograph of this moose, and it was only like someone like DA just said, "Oh, what's that there?" And that looks like a. And when you further looked at it, it was someone stood there looking down at the damn bloody thing. Huge.
Compared to him, the moose looked like a miniature donkey. I had no idea how truly big a moose was until I was in the Rocky Mountain National Park, and I came around the trail and met up with a moose cow, and it kind of surprised both of us. And we were about 15 feet away from each other, and she was absolutely gigantic, and I was scared to death that I had stumbled across her calves. Thankfully, she was all by herself, and she was just eating some kelp or something that was growing in the river. Because I looked around and I was 25 feet from the nearest tree, and there's no way I was spry enough and low oxygen to go up that tree. She would have killed me. You know, it was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, her head was the size of my entire torso.
I had no idea how big a moose was until there was a TV program. What was it called? Adam, what's his name, isn't it? The scientists, and they do.
Oh, Adam Savage.
The guy with a. He's got his beard.
Yeah, the Mythbusters.
Mythbusters, that was it. And they showed what happens to a cow when a moose gets.
I knew he was talking about Jamie Heineman when he started doing
Yeah.
Yep.
But I didn't think a moose was that big, and they showed this. They made like
when they was running the cars into it to show what.
Yeah, it was a tire, like a set of tires.
Styrofoam moose.
Yeah, and then I thought, God, they're enormous.
They
but
weigh
yeah,
about
over here in
2,000 pounds.
England, yeah, but things that kill people in my country are cows. They kill more things than kill more humans than anything.
Yeah, those stags that you guys have are just ridiculous, though. When my wife and I were in Cornwall in 2015, there was a very wooded area there. We walked around, we came across a stag, and being raised around white-tailed deer, it never occurred to me how big a stag was. And
that's a big creature.
Oh yes, and we were there in January, so he was all ready for the winter, and
Oh yeah.
thankfully it wasn't mating season because he would have been pretty angry. But he was
Those
he was
wood
beautiful
bisons
though.
they put in LBL are massive. Because me and Johnny was driving down, we went through the little viewing area, and they just they're just out walking around. I mean, they don't have them pinned up. I mean, the whole section is fenced off, but inside that section, they're just there. And we're driving down, and y'all both seen my truck, and my truck's not small. Me and Johnny's driving next to this thing. It was walking on the road, and as we drove beside it, that thing turned around and looked, and it was almost looking Johnny eye to eye. And he was sitting in the passenger seat, and its head was almost even with his head sitting in my passenger seat of my truck. I said, I hope we don't piss this thing off, because if we do, he's gonna flip my truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they've been known to ram a vehicle.
The first time I ever saw a male lion face to face, there's a safari park over here, and it's called Knowsley Safari Park. If you want to Google that, it's spelt with a K. And you can drive in your car, and you can drive through the monkeys. You can drive through anything, borrowly. It's just a zoo, basically, and you drive through in your car. And at the time, I had a Range Rover, a classic Range Rover, with a 2-inch lift on it. It was all kitted out for off-roading, so it was a big vehicle. And we went in the lion enclosure. My son at the time, he was only about 8, and we drove in there, and this lion come walking up to the car, because my car was the biggest car in the convoy of people driving through. It come walking right up to the car, and as it's getting closer, it's like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I had no idea how big a lion really was, and that was the same. Its eyes were looking at my eyes, and I'm in this Range Rover, 5'5" off the ground, and this thing's looking right at me, and its whole head filled the window of the Range Rover, and that's a big car. Animals, when we watch all these things on TV, unless you've been there and looked at it, you've really got no idea how big they are, and it's just it's astonishing what's out there, and what can, like you said, just mess you up anytime it wants to. It doesn't really happen, but it does, and it's just mind-blowing. Great big animals scare the shit out of me.
I'm right there with you.
But yeah, lions are bigger than you think.
Yeah, I think they are Mother Nature's version of F around and find out.
Yeah, just a bit. Like I have 2 cats here, and they're total killing machines. They'll sneak up on you and have you, and they bring all sorts back. And the strength that's in a cat. And I've had pit bulls over years. Well, they're not quite pit bulls. We were struggling to get them over here, but big dogs like that, and I can pick up my cat, and it was stronger than a bloody pit bull if it wanted to get out your arms. So cats can really make a mess here.
I was like, how much does Harley weigh, DA?
It's probably about 75 or 80 pounds.
Okay. And so an African lion's 500 or 600 pounds, and his dog is one of the bigger dogs I've interacted with. If he wasn't such a wuss, he'd be terrifying.
For as lazy as he is, he's still incredibly muscular.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. He's a sweet old boy. Gentle giant.
You didn't even get to see our Mastiff, Steve.
No,
he passed away before you got a chance to meet him. He was probably between 180 and 200 pounds in his prime. He was a big dog.
Well, I had a male wolf dog that was about 90% timber wolf, and he was 120 pounds, and he was massive. Sitting on the couch, he could look me eye to eye.
Yeah,
and his head was 18 inches in diameter. If he opened his mouth and put his head on me, his front teeth would grab, like he bit down on top. His front teeth grabbed either side of my temples. He could have killed me in a heartbeat. But he was just a big old baby. You know, if he were slightly
it
larger, I
does
could
make you
ride him into
think.
combat.
When people report these things, and they say, "Oh, it could have been 6 feet tall," and you think, what you just said. Then you sat on your couch, and it's eye to eye to you. This Dogman could be. It beggars
If he
belief.
stood on his
It's
hind
huge.
legs, he's almost as tall as I am.
Yeah, it's just
And wolves, people have no idea. People are used to seeing coyotes, and what Hollywood shows is wolves. You know, the wolves they show on TV are huskies and things that have a high percentage of wolf blood in them.
Yeah.
A true wolf is gigantic compared to a coyote.
Yep.
You know, coyotes roughly
length,
the size of a
just the
German
length.
Shepherd.
Mm.
You know, wolves are much bigger.
Yeah.
Picture somewhere that I wish I could find it. There's a picture of my bull mastiff, and he was only about 140 pounds at his biggest, but he had his paws on my shoulder and was looking me in the face, and his body was still out at about a 45-degree angle. If he'd have been standing on his hind legs, just standing up, he probably would have been well over 7 feet tall, and that's just a 140-pound dog.
Yeah.
You talk about a dog man that weighs 500, 600, 700 pounds. How big would that thing be? Especially one that leave a track the size of that one Robbie found. The one we found down in Joe Bald was 7.5 inches long and a good inch into the ground.
It's a big animal that's out there. The more I think of it, I need more than a machete, don't I?
You definitely
That's all right.
do.
We're short of machete, so come with us. We'll bring the firearms.
Yes.
I would love to take you into Joe Bald and Combs Ferry.
Oh,
I'm going to have to get my shit together and get over there.
Well, you are welcome anytime, my friend.
Love it.
Oh.
Ooh.
We'll buy you some real Red Bull.
I can't take real stuff. Bloody hellfire, my nose will drop off. Rhodesian Ridgeback. Yeah, I had a friend who had a couple of them. They're a big dog. They're bred for hunting lions as well.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Boer bells.
And until it gets face to face with the lion and thinks, oh shit, what a job! Where could I have been a sheepdog? It was a lot easier.
It's like those Russian shepherds. They're bred to hunt grizzlies.
Caucasian Ovcharka.
Yeah.
Those dogs look like bears.
Yeah.
What were the cane corsos that how it's pronounced? What were they bred for? Because they get over 200.
They're a mastiff species. I think they were bred for hunting mountain lions. I think.
Because those things get over 200 pounds too. Those are big dogs.
Yeah, those are really big dogs. Angry drunken German said, I'm curious if the gentlemen have discussed Marley Woods sightings and experiences. I haven't. I know Marley Woods is here in Missouri. It's not, I don't know exactly where it's at. I really haven't had a chance to get out that direction and explore it at all. And I don't know too much about that area. I mean, I've heard some people talk about it, but Marley Woods is one of those kind of like on my bucket list. But despite what they found at Marley Woods, I think what we found at Combs Ferry is every bit as compelling.
Yeah, Brian Barber just made a comment that with the wolf hybrids, you need to worry about how many generations out of the wild they are as much as the percentage. My dog, his father was a purebred timber wolf, so he wasn't very far removed, unfortunately.
I was just reading an article earlier today about a Russian that found a Russian brown bear in the Urals as a cub and decided to raise it. And once it reached adulthood, he had this gigantic Russian brown bear. And one day it just stopped eating and they couldn't figure out why. And then he just ate the guy.
Oh,
kind of like that snake I told the story about the other night.
Cajun Dog says Cane Corsos were bred for guards as a guard dog.
Guarding against what?
Bigfoot? I don't know I don't want to see what the fuck it is. I'm sorry.
I don't know that night. That night we were in Combs Ferry. I don't know that I would have wanted to have had a dog in there. Not the way those things tend to react toward dogs. I don't know that we'd have got out of there with the dog. I think that dog probably would have got it.
Well, and brought it into us. I mean, Cora's the biggest dog I own, but she's a, let's be honest, she's a fraidy cat. And
Harley's the same way. To quote Hagrid from Harry Potter, yeah, he's a bloody coward.
Yeah. Yeah, Cora's a sweetheart. She would give her life to save my wife, but she wouldn't last long against a Dogman or whatever.
Antonio Vasquez says, you guys saw a white Dogman? The one I saw was completely black. And that was in
LBL.
LBL 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
July.
2022
is the year I saw it. But I've never seen a white one. I've heard stories of white ones, but I've never seen one. And supposedly down in War Eagle State Park in Arkansas, some folks on horseback said they saw a white gugway.
I wonder if that's like any other species that can have albinism.
I would say so. Any species can have albinism. Cajun dog, what he saw was white and silver or gray. Well, that's a fairly common color in wolves.
Some of the big cats that Leon and his fellow researchers are running across are probably those melanistic, big cats, Black Panthers or Black Tigers or something.
Just a guy who yaps says, can you get charged with negligence for creating a scenario where your pet is eaten by wildlife? I don't know. I mean, it's not like I would be planning on anything happening to the dog, because I would certainly not want anything to happen to Harley. He's a great dog. But if you took your dog camping and something killed your dog, I don't think that anybody would charge you for it, because you didn't go out there with the intention of getting your dog eaten. But if you're going to go camping here in Missouri, and I can't speak for this any other areas of the United States, but I can tell you this as a statement of fact here in Missouri. If you go camping, especially in the Mark Twain National Forest, and you take a dog, you are going to see wild hogs. Wild hogs will come after dogs.
Yeah, I prefer to avoid them.
They'll kill them and eat them.
Well, hogs are just mean motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah, they're nasty animals.
Yeah,
they will kill things just to piss you off.
See, Callaway says the white ones like snowmobiles.
No, truthfully, in my opinion, the scariest thing that we know of in the woods of Missouri are wild hogs. I'm more scared of them than mountain lions or bear.
Concerned about. Another reason why we should take something bigger than 9mm next time we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert, you remember that story I told you about the other day, DA? Robert D said he heard it too. The story about tigers in Alaska.
So if there's Siberian tigers in Alaska, yeah, you better be carrying something heavy if you go out in the woods out there.
Yeah, that's a big animal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, big female can hit close to 700 pounds.
God,
that's kind of sad, Leon, but I own an AR and I'm thinking I'm underarmed.
Well, they've also been saying for years in Alaska and parts of Saskatchewan and Canada and even British Columbia, sightings of what they believe are short-faced bears. And that's a bear that lived during the Pleistocene. I'm not Pleistocene, during the megafauna days, and supposedly only went extinct about 35,000 years ago, and was 19 feet tall on its hind legs and could weigh as much as a school bus.
They were in the Pleistocene as well. That's when they first came on the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. During their time period, they were considered the largest land predator in North America.
Yeah. I saw an artist rendering of a taxidermy specimen of it at the Field Museum in Chicago. And they were larger than the giant sloth. And the giant sloth, up until that point, was the largest, scariest thing I had seen from that time period. I mean, they could have ridden a woolly mammoth as if it were a horse. These things were gigantic.
Here you go, man. I'll go you one better. We'll just put this up.
Yeah.
That is a short-faced bear next to a polar bear and a grizzly. And at one time, short-faced bears existed here in Missouri.
Yeah, there's a male polar bear at the Memphis Zoo that is 14 feet tall on his hind legs. And the short-faced bear has got him beat by a smidge or two.
They said they would average around 19 feet tall and weigh in a proximity of about 2,000 pounds.
No, thank you. They're built like Mike Tyson on top of that.
Yeah, and they show their bare butt too. Sorry, too soon.
Well,
The caption right here says, the short-faced bear stood up to 6 feet at the shoulder and could weigh up to 2,250 pounds.
oh, shit.
That means, Steve, that thing standing on all fours, your head comes up to the top of its shoulders.
Right. Yeah, I have to have a ladder and two friends to get me on top of that thing.
That is massive.
Oh, yeah. Well, a Clydesdale stands right about 6 feet at the shoulder.
This caption up here says, once common in the Ozarks, the short-faced bear was the largest and most powerful land predator in North America. Taller than modern bears with longer limbs and forward-facing toes. It's believed that this bear was built to chase prey to exhaustion, running up to 40 miles an hour. Standing over 12 feet tall when reared up, the short-faced bear was the uncontested master of its world.
Oh, fuck
Holy
that.
shit.
Mm.
How are we still here after putting up with that kind of crap for all them thousands of years?
You imagine trying to hunt that with a stone-tipped spear?
We've really got to tip our hat to our ancestors because we're here and we're alive.
Seriously.
It's to think what they must have gone through.
Well, that would have been the poor Native Americans. Our ancestors were still in Northern Europe, not dealing with any of that crap.
Well, that's true, yeah. Fucking hell. But, yeah. The mind boggles.
Can you imagine
Cajun
the
dog says, trip
calories?
the guy next to you. Yeah, if that thing can run 40 miles an hour, you're not even going to escape in a Prius.
If you drop it off Blackpool Tower, you might get 40 mile an hour out of it.
KC, you're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
He said it was almost as bad as Blue Pants.
Oh, the ass.
350. Yeah.
I just love Rosie Perez's reaction. Well, we didn't need to see that camera angle.
Yeah. I'm picturing, the giant sloth, the short faced bear, the smilodon, and then, they had dragonflies with a wingspan of 6 feet.
Yeah.
Imagine
No,
the
thank you.
mosquitoes back then.
Oh my God.
The mosquitoes back then would be almost as big as the ones that were bombarding us in Combs Ferry that night.
Seriously.
Mosquitodactyls, man.
The only reason they avoided me was because I'm toxic.
Ones flying around there, man. You could see the aircraft registration number on their tails.
You feel the draft when they came past. Had a red light on one wing and a green one on the other.
Sound like a cobra coming in for a landing when they go by you.
Seriously. You think it's an Apache mosquito?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to go back when it's cold out, just to avoid all the bugs. Man, every time I clicked on my because we had to use the red lights for the most of it because the red lights didn't attract the bugs. But if you clicked on one of the white lights, you were instantly just swarmed.
Oh yeah. And there were ticks falling out of trees.
Yeah.
The only reason they didn't bother me was just the fact that, I don't attract, bugs like that. But they were thick. They were everywhere.
Yeah. As thick as bugs are in Missouri in the springtime. Well, the fall in the summertime. They were brutal.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I want to go back once the first frost is hit and mosquitoes and ticks go back to hell where they belong.
To hell.
Which,
Brings it back to Jotunheim.
speaking of that, it's getting on towards the middle of November. We need to sit down and figure out what week we're going to do that.
Well, that time we were in Joe Bald when we found that track was in November.
Yeah,
It was last year when you came in.
Yep, but I think Doc said he probably couldn't make it till after the first of the year. I think that's why we planned on after the first of the year.
Well, give me some advance notice and time to put on my leg brace, and I'll be there with you.
Absolutely, man.
Hopefully,
one of these days we can get Leon here.
Hopefully. Yeah, got to do it. Got to do it.
I think you'd have a good time here, and I think between me, Robbie, and Steve, we've got enough of the long-range pew-pews, or as we sometimes refer to them as cordless hole punches. I think we've got enough to keep you.
Yes, we would make sure that you were armed.
I've got a World War II vintage British 303. That's right there for you, man.
That'll do.
An old Enfield 303.
Yeah, a martini. No. I'll have nothing on the rocks, darling.
See if I can dig up a wall for you.
Yeah,
I used to have one.
Oh yeah, I've definitely got to get out there and see you guys.
It'd be a blast.
Before I'm too
decrepit, to be able to go live. Antonio, the plan is to go live when we go out to these places. That's what we're trying to build up the budget to get the equipment we're going to need to go live, because the signals in those places, you don't get cell phone signal. I mean, these are off the beaten path. So at Joe Ball,
you do, and then you go 2 feet and you don't. Then you go 2 more feet and you do. Then you go a foot and you don't. Then you go 10 feet and you do.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to build a signal booster, but and I know this is not everybody's favorite cat, but Elon Musk is talking about building his own cell phones, and he's been asking how many people would be interested. And said if he does it, if he starts selling Tesla phones, that they're going to come with Starlink built in.
Yeah, I was just going to say Starlink's the thing.
That would be perfect for filming out there. Just use your phone as a portable Wi-Fi. Yeah. Run all your gear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I've got portable Wi-Fi in the Buick, but it's still AT&T's network. Yeah, it's a little too woolly for the grocery getter, I'm afraid.
If he does actually produce those phones, the Tesla phones, my next upgrade will probably be one.
I'm with you there.
Because that would be perfect for going live out in the field.
Yeah, that's the problem we've got over here as well. It's our mobile phone network is absolutely SH1T. It is CAC. And it's gone even worse since the last government that was running this country. They fell out with the Chinese, and I think they got rid of all the Wahoo equipment that's trying to run the cell network. So it's gone backwards. Where we're getting like 4G, it's nothing. It's 3G really over here. It's absolutely shite.
I was shocked at the network in 2015. When I was I went out to Cornwall, and when I was in San Austell, I had like 4 bars. I had perfect signal. And then by the time I got to the estate that we were in, just outside, in Clowens actually, there was nothing. Like literally no bars at all. And I was 5 miles from the village.
Yeah, it's ridiculous over here. It's not good at all. There's 5G masts going up all over the place, but they haven't got the technology inside them yet. So it's
well, the countryside was beautiful, but I would have liked to have had some cell phone signal.
Yeah,
isn't the Tesla phone only going to cost $100? I heard. I hope so. I mean, I hope they're inexpensive. I think that would be fantastic. Make them affordable. Because if you buy a new iPhone, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 for a phone, and that's kind of ludicrous to spend that.
Yeah, they only cost about $10 to make.
Yeah, especially considering they're not even making them here and probably made in a Chinese sweatshop.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's the price they ask for them. This thing I'm on an iMac. It's the best thing that I've ever bought, but God, it was expensive. But it wasn't.
I'm using a MacBook myself, and I paid $1,800 for it.
Yeah, it's hard to see where the price of this that I'm now talking to compared to that, because they're both the same price.
Well, you can buy a full computer tower cheaper than you can buy a cell phone.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
It is ridiculous.
But you look at the Apple technology, though. Like, my wife's gaming computer, I think I paid like $1,800 for it. To buy a comparable Mac, I'd be out $3,000.
Mm.
It's ridiculous. That would last forever, but it's ridiculous.
Kevin Bode, if Musk releases his phone, he's not even talking about using 5G towers, that the phones will run off of Starlink. Which means
sat phones.
Yeah, your phone would work anywhere in the world.
Anywhere.
He's got a whole ring of those satellites, pretty much over most
Damn satellites.
Yeah, it's got a swarm.
Satellites. Cajun says, DA, haven't heard about tiger sightings in Alaska, but heard some folks talking about the American lion sightings up there. There's even places like up near the Nahanni Valley where someone will claim to have seen a Smilodon.
I don't want to see that either.
Oh yeah, there's a whole I can't remember who produced it, but there's a whole documentary on all the different Smilodon sightings. Not just because there's like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different types. Because there's, what everybody considers the saber-toothed tiger is the Smilodon fatalis, but there's like 3 in the Smilodon genus, but then there's other saber-toothed cats, and there's like 15 or 20, like Chad, and I think that's in Africa, right? Or in that general area. There's like 15 or 20 different sightings a year in just in that area.
Well, look at some of the strange things that are cited in the Congo basin. Well, hell, the Congo is what gave us the billy ape.
Right. Well, then haven't they also had what they believe are a resurgence of sightings of the thylacines or whatever they're called, the Tasmanian tigers, Tasmanian wolves?
The thylacine has pretty much been almost, Fars Galante is pretty much almost proven that that's still alive.
Well, there have been documented cases that have made the news in Australia and have floated around here on YouTube and other channels of people that have filmed thylacines.
Mm.
I mean, when you look at it, there's really nothing else it could be.
Right. They're kind of
strange looking, aren't they?
Like everything else in Australia.
They're pretty bizarre animals. Well, folks, we are past the 2-hour mark, and I don't want to give Leon a heart attack from drinking so many energy drinks. So we're going to start
my drink in hand.
It's good.
We're going to start winding things down. Leon, tell us a little bit about your channel before we wind down too far, and we'll go ahead and share that in the chat.
My channel, if you go over to it now and look at it, you'll have to scroll down a fair bit to find a lot of my cryptid stuff. The YouTube side of it, I've been really struggling to get views and followers and that. If you're gonna go and look at my stuff, I would say go to my God, it's all. What time is it here now? I'm trying to think. My brain's shutting down. Go to my. Anyway, this way. Just look up. Oh, it's gone completely.
Do it Noel's way.
No, I'm trying to think. Anyway, everything is the same. If you look at my videos, there's a group of videos that are all got the same picture but with different episodes on them. I think there's about 18 or 19 episodes in there, and I think it's myself standing in front of like an old wooden cabin. But you'll see right from the beginning when I started getting into it, more or less up to now. There's all sorts on there. We've got footprints, we've got audio, we've got eye shine, I've even got video of a Bigfoot-like creature drinking from a river. There's a load on there. There's some funny, crazy, daft things on there. That's because it's do its Noel's way, because it's the way I do things. But you will have, you'll be impressed. Well, I hope you'll be impressed. I put a lot of work into the videos that I produce and that.
I've watched a lot of your videos and I like them.
I hope you go along and have a look at them. But there's plenty to see on there. It's you won't get bored. You'll be able to do a bit of binge watching, and everything is. Yes, it's serious, but we still have a bit of a joke and a tongue-in-cheek attitude to it all. It's not your normal. Oh shit! What's that noise? Ah, blah, blah, blah. Everyone, run for your life. My work is a lot more. I don't know, a lot more down to earth and a lot more normal in a way. How I go about things. Everything isn't howling in the woods and trying to kill you. We've got to look into it and try and get some proof to it. But it's still tongue in cheek, and I think you guys will enjoy it. In fact, I know you guys. If you put up with these three crazy SLBs, you're going to enjoy my channel.
Well,
so
the interactions between you and your friend, is it John? Is that his name? No, I probably got the wrong name. Sean.
Yeah.
Just as a Yank watching your show, the understated British humor with some of the stuff that you and he say to each other. I was in tears watching your videos because there's just such an understated way of saying everything, and it made me laugh so hard.
We couldn't get away. There's a lot of editing that goes in there as well. We left a lot of it in there. The stuff that Sean comes up with.
Oh my God.
It's just mind blowing. If he sat there and he could have his own channel on himself. He's famous for having a crap on Donald Trump's golf course in Scotland. He nearly got caught. Amazing. He nearly got caught doing it as well.
That's great. I just want to sit down and have a pint with him. I mean,
it worked because he doesn't like Donald Trump. It was just because he needed an SH1T. It was at the middle of this golf course. But yeah, he's got some awesome stories. But yeah, and the good thing is I can run faster than him as well. So wherever we go, if someone's going to chase us, it's going to have him first. But yeah, you'll get over there and get some viewing. There's the Dogman stuff. Like I said, there's about 20 videos on that. There might be more actually, and re-edits and takedown, and you'll see stuff with DA and Robbie on there, and Steve. You'll see little cuts and edits of that. But yeah, get over there, and give it a whirl, and let me know what you think.
Well, dude, we really appreciate you joining us. It's always a great time. We always laugh hysterically, but we still get to talk about a lot of cryptid stuff. And I was really glad we got to share the pictures from our expeditions with you, because you hadn't been on since we'd done any of those, and I really wanted to get your opinion on them.
Yeah, some good stuff there. You definitely need to get back out there.
Well, no one's an expert in this field, but you're the closest thing that we've got, and we really appreciate you. You've done more field work than most of our circle of friends have done, and it's appreciated.
Thank you. I love every minute of it, and I will be getting back out there and doing it. Just get the old strength up, and it's not just the strength in your arms; it's the strength up here as well you need, and it's takes time for you to get back in the saddle, as they say. But I'll be out there doing it again very, very soon.
And you're mad enough to do it with a machete. I love it.
Yes. And a big case of Red Thunder. Don't forget. Other shit drinks are available.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever keeps you awake.
That's it.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep. That'll be
Yeah,
me
most
awake
of the
now.
stuff that I drink is typically a war crime just to stay awake for night shift. So I'm not going to judge you on your Red Thunder.
No. It's, yeah, you gotta do. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. We got any questions?
A few people asking what your channel was.
All right, yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I just posted the link. Miss Lene just posted the link too.
Good.
Well, folks, we are starting to wind things down. Join us tomorrow night as we bring you another Campfire Tales. Tomorrow night, I think, Robbie, we were talking about doing some of the first Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, yep.
Okay, so we'll do an excerpt from the first Ragnarok novel, Awakening. Well, it'll be at our usual time at 8 p.m. Central. Hope you guys will join us for that. And you join us this Wednesday as we have another mystery guest. I haven't got the show set up yet, but we will have another guest on. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. And he's been on the show before, but it's been a while, and I think you guys are going to be interested to hear some of the things he's been up to. And I'll have that show posted probably tomorrow or Monday at the latest, and then I'll have the show set up for Campfire Tales. I'll have that set up for tomorrow night. One thing we've been trying to do is I know YouTube has been hit a lot of commercials, and there's been some issues with that. So we're only going to do one of the affiliates per show. And tonight, the affiliate we're going to profile is going to be the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. So we're going to hear a short message from an even shorter guy, and hear a little word from Doc over at Dark Angel. So with that in mind, here's the little man himself.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DAExMachina with D.A. Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
And don't forget to use the discount code CRYPTID20 for 20% off your order when you visit Dark Angel Medical, and let them know we sent you. And if you if you're part of the HSA or FSA programs, if you're a first responder, you can use that there as well, not only for training, but for kits. So check out darkangelmedical.com, best kits in the business, and let them know we sent you. Leon, brother, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. I know it's what's like 4:30 in the morning over there or something like that.
It is, 20 past 4. It's time for a bacon butty.
Well, dude, I know it messed up your sleep schedule, but thank you for hanging out with us. We definitely got to get you back on, and I don't want to wait that long for the next time. So let's plan on doing this again sometime after the first of the year.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely get my finger out and my hand in.
Well, here lately we've been ending the show with a toast, and I want to mention the 22 a day foundation. Don't forget the 22 a day. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that's 22 too many. So check on your friends and family that have worn a uniform in any capacity: first responders, veterans, active duty military. Let them know you're thinking about them, because 22 a day could be prevented. And you never know when that "Hey, are you okay?" text might be what keeps them off the edge for the day. So check on all your friends and family. Check on the people you care about who've served in any capacity, and let them know that you care. Again, because 22 a day is 22 too many. Let's get that down to 0. And we've been ending the show with a toast, and I'm going to do a little different one tonight. Again, I like my Irish and Scottish toast, so if you guys will grab a glass or whatever, doesn't matter. It's fitting that's an Irish toast, because I got a little bit of the Irish in here. But the toast says, the toast says, "May love and laughter light your days and warm your heart and home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures. May all life's passing seasons bring you the best to you and yours." Good night, everyone.
Slanjivar.
Slanja.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAExMachina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.